Joining us is former FEMA chief Michael Brown. He led the federal emergency response to Hurricane Katrina. It's good to have you on. The federal agency has been put in charge of the nation's response to the pandemic. A lot of criticism, though, over FEMA's response time. You're hearing from Governor Andrew Cuomo saying, hey, I need more of this, I need more of that. Are the states getting the supplies that they're calling for, sir?
Yes and no. And let's put it in perspective. It's easy for a governor to say, I need X, Y, Z, but if X, Y, Z is not available, they're not going to get it. And so what we see the president and the administration doing is turning to the private sector, as you mentioned, using the Defense Production Act, even though it hasn't actually been implemented. And under that act, the president can say to a manufacturer of widgets, instead of making widgets, I need you to make gadgets. Well, he hasn't actually had to ask anybody to do that because the private sector is stepping up and doing it. So there's naturally a backlog between what the governors are asking for and what the government can actually supply them with. That's why the president said, if you can find it. He didn't say you're on your own, but he said, if you can find these things on your own, then go ahead and get them. FEMA's looking everywhere they can to get as much supply so they can fulfill these requests. So when the governor says, I'm not getting X, Y, Z, we might step back and say, maybe that's because X, Y, Z is not available right now.
Interesting point. I want to bring this up to you, too. The Waffle House Index has reportedly been used by FEMA in the past to gauge the severity of a disaster like hurricanes and such. So the index moves to the red zone. And we're showing a map now because 418 Waffle Houses closed. If you're just catching up with us here, Waffle House doesn't close. I mean, you don't see this establishment close. What does that tell us about what's going to be required for this disaster recovery effort? How much can we gain from this?
Look, I think the Waffle House litmus test is really good, but now we're misinterpreting it. The Waffle House litmus test now should be some of these outlets are beginning to close, not because there's a hurricane or a flood or tornadoes. They're closing because there's no business. And when they start doing that, we need to start asking ourselves, is the cure worse than the disease? You hear that everywhere. And I think the Waffle House is a good litmus test for that. I've seen restaurants around the Denver area that are closing down that I think will never come back. Not because of, anything going on in terms of a natural disaster in Colorado, but simply because there is no business.
All right. That is Michael Brown. We ran out of time, but it's really good to hear from you. Great points. Former Undersecretary of Emergency Preparedness and Response. Thank you, sir.